Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Fine Arts and Humanities edition of More Than Just a Major, or MT Jam. My name is Dan Ferrara and I'm an advisor in the STEM division, and I'm joined by some wonderful colleagues, both on faculty and orientation leaders. A little bit about myself. I'm from New Jersey. I'm actually from the Jersey Shore. I'm from the town where they made the show, The Jersey Shore, which is kind of a badge of shame for myself, but I've been at UNC officially now for 4 months, but prior to that, I was working as an academic advisor at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And in between my time at Johns Hopkins and UNC, I actually took 4 months off and did a road trip, cross-country road trip with my spouse. And we saw 37 states, 12 national parks, saw a grizzly bear. It was a wild time, but happy to be here talking with you all and so excited for you to join us at UNC.
And my name's Hillary Lithgow. I teach in the Department of English and Comparative Literature, and I do academic advising as well. There's a number of departments that have faculty who do advising, so keep an eye out for us when you are on campus. I teach British literature. I teach English 105 and 105I, and some of my favorite courses to teach are the ones for people who think that they don't like English. Teach a lot of those, and my favorite of those is a course on the literature of war that I co-teach with student veterans on campus. So yeah, I'm from Massachusetts originally. I've been at UNC since 2011 and excited to see you all when you get here.
Hi everyone, my name is Nuria and I am a sophomore now officially, and I'm double majoring in advertisement and public relations and vocal performance, and I'm from Cary, North Carolina. But I was born in New Jersey, so that's cool.
So I can't backtrack off of that, but hello everyone, my name is DeAndre Sawyer. I'm from Camden, North Carolina. If you don't know where that is, it's okay, nobody does. I'm majoring in communications. I'm also a sophomore along with Nuria, and also along with Nuria, we are both 2020 orientation leaders.
Yeah.
Yay!
And congratulations to you both for just finishing your first year.
Thank you, thank you. That pass fail really came in clutch.
So before we, officially launch into this presentation, I just have a few bits of expectations I want to manage. If you have personal questions about things like placement, just rest assured that you'll have time to ask those questions during the advising workshop tomorrow. Remember that the focus of this workshop is on your first year and not your full 4 years. You have plenty of time to kind of work through that, but we really just want to use this time with you as a primer to get you to start thinking about opportunities for academic exploration and relationship building during the first year. And to that end, the first appointment with advising is an opportunity to talk one-on-one with an advisor to kind of set some of those personal and academic goals and help you accomplish those things. So moving right along, what is advising? Who are we? Where are we? What do we do? We want to partner with you to help you make an education plan and to help you explore your goals and interests. We want to guide you toward resources and opportunities that are going to allow you to make the most of your college experience. Think of us like a hub. We're a great resource for brainstorming, bounce ideas off us, explore different pathways, and visiting us during your first year is a low risk, high reward way to kind of make a connection early on campus and get some valuable information. Our department has advisors who work specifically with different majors, with STEM majors and with HOS majors, that's Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. And we have a few different locations on campus. So when we're on campus, we have a location on the north side, which is in the Steele Building, and on the south side, which is in the Hardin Hub, and you're free to visit us at either one of those locations. We also have a center called the Loudermilk Center, which is in the middle of campus, and that's a space specifically for student athletes participating on varsity teams. So let me click here. A little bit about what advisors can and can't do. We're going to partner with you to help you reach your academic and personal goals. We're going to discuss curriculum and requirements for graduation and help you brainstorm ideas for course selection and guide you to university resources. During the fall semester, you will be assigned an academic advisor, and I would encourage you to meet with that person to start, but really you're free to see any advisor on our staff in those areas. And I would just encourage you to try to find someone that you make a connection with. And I really do see the value in getting multiple perspectives, because everyone has a different has a different piece of information to share, or different experience or different connection to help you make on campus. So don't just settle with one person unless that person kind of rocks your world and is fantastic. But really just explore all of all the options that advising offers.
We're
Now,
all gonna rock your world.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, everyone. Yeah. A few things about what advisors can't do. So aside from the 2 courses that you get pre-registered for, we can't enroll you in courses. We also can't change university policy or alter the academic requirements. We can't change university deadlines. So it's important that you early on try to get a sense of what those deadlines are, look at the calendar around things like add drop or pass fail, which we'll talk more about in future sessions, but just really understand when things are happening around campus, because once those deadlines pass, there's very little that we can do to change them. Most importantly, what we can't do and what we won't do is we're not going to tell you what classes to take. So you're not going to show up into my office and get like a prescription of like, these are the classes that you have to take in this order and that has to happen now. We'll give you the information that you need to make a good decision, and we'll help you make that decision. But part of being in college is really just having the freedom and the flexibility to explore everything the university has to offer in a way that makes sense for you. And no 2 paths are the same. So try not to look over the fence too much at what other people are doing, and just kind of focus on your interests and your connections.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in here, Dan, and say I can not even count the times that I have heard seniors come to an advising meeting in their 1st or 2nd semester and say, "Oh my goodness, this was really helpful. I wish I'd come earlier." And it always breaks my heart, because we can help anytime, but if you come early and you make a habit of it, there's so many opportunities on campus, so many academic opportunities, but also just things that are happening that we can connect you with. So don't hesitate to come early, come often. I know, Nuria, you had a little bit of a story about how advising had helped you. Do you want to jump in and tell us a little bit about your experiences with advising?
Yeah, for sure. So I added my double major of Ad PR towards the 2nd semester, towards the end of the year. And I wish I'd gone sooner, because I was just pushing it off because I didn't want to take the time in my schedule to sit down with an advisor and talk about my future, because that's always scary. But I also contemplated adding a double major just because I didn't know if I could handle all of that, like physically or even at the cost of my mental health. And I just went in, signed up for an appointment one day, and sat down. I had my meeting with Sarah Rowe, and she was so extremely helpful. I came in with all my concerns. I was like, I don't know if I should double major, if I should minor, or if I can even study abroad. And she took me through all of the logistics and gave me different pathways that I could take throughout my college career, giving me a lot of options, but she never told me that I couldn't do anything. So that was so incredibly helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think what you said about it's anxiety producing to think about the future. I think a lot of people put off their advising meeting because for that reason, exactly. And so many people have the experience you just described of feeling better after they leave than they did when they come in. So just know that mostly we can help you feel better. We will sometimes have to, be realistic about what's possible, but we will help you achieve your goals as at all the ones that we can fit.
Very true. And there's lots of different ways to connect with us. You can connect with us via appointment. You can connect with us via drop-in advising. We do have a chat feature on our advising website, and then we do send emails throughout the semester about different workshops that we're holding, or just reminders about important deadlines through our social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram. We also have kind of a, before I get onto liberal arts education, we do have a feature on our website where you can learn a little bit about each of your academic advisors. So kind of learn about what they studied in school, what their interests are. And that's a nice way to kind of help break the ice or really help make a connection as you're thinking about what advisor you want to meet with. So at UNC, you're going to get a liberal arts education. And what that means, it's an interdisciplinary approach to learning through arts, humanities, natural science, and social science. That foundation is so important in helping you develop critical thinking, problem solving, communication skills, those sorts of areas. At the end of your college experience, you're going to be well-rounded. You're going to be able to adapt to an ever-changing world, which we're all experiencing right now. And in an evolving job market, students are going to have to possess a diverse skill set to help create a competitive edge.
There's a whole field that's called health humanities that is increasingly kind of making its presence felt in med schools. And the origin of that field is people realizing that when they train doctors, they train them for all kinds of things, but one thing that they don't often train them for, didn't used to, was being able to interpret stories, which doesn't seem very important to being a doctor for most people, but people started studying it and realizing patients tell their health histories as narratives. And if you're not very good at understanding narratives, it may impede your ability to be effective in providing healthcare. So those kind of interdisciplinary connections are ones that liberal arts education can really help with, help strengthen people's ability to, like you were just saying, Dan, work across different fields. We're going to talk about kind of course planning and general education, what's called general education requirements in just a second. And a lot of you know what those are, but in case you don't, those are actually way more courses than I think students realize coming into college. It's a bigger part of your undergraduate education than people sometimes realize. People think, oh, I'm going to take courses for my major. I'm going to take courses to prepare me for a career. But these other courses that you take, a lot of times people, when they come to college, they think of them as kind of stuff to get out of the way. Let me get my gen eds out of the way. And instead of thinking of them that way, and I can talk to you about this till I'm blue in the face, and it won't mean much until you have this experience, but instead of thinking of them as something to get out of the way, I would encourage you to think of them as gateways to opportunities that you don't even know exist yet, or as the students who I was working with last year used to call them, things that you didn't even know were a thing. Sometimes you'll end up in a class that was not the class you expected to be in because it fulfills a quote unquote general education requirement and you had to do it. And there are times, a surprising number of times, where people realize, oh my gosh, I'm good at this. I love this. This is something I didn't even know existed before I came to college. So that's a piece of what liberal arts education can be about as well. Expanding your horizons to realize all the different ways in which you can approach questions and problems, and all the different skill sets that are required for to succeed in academia, and then that you can put to work in the world after that. So just encouraging you to explore and take advantage of the fact that coming to UNC is not vocational training. It is not just a means to a particular end. It's a gateway to ends that you don't even know about yet. That's all I have to say about liberal arts, so I'll hand it back to you, Dan.
Well, actually, I'm going to turn it over to you for major basics.
Okay. So this session is to talk broadly about majors. So I would love to talk to you about English and comparative literature, but I'm going to try my best not to propagandize. As you can see from the slide that's on the screen, there's a range of different departments included within what we call fine arts and humanities. So, you don't have to sweat too much about, oh my gosh, is this a humanities program or a social science? The differences, you'll experience them in the classroom, and you'll there's a lot of overlap amongst the different majors just in terms of some of the numbers and nuts and bolts, but we just want to give you a brief sense of that. Probably the biggest thing to understand about the major is that it is not your entire college experience. It is, as you can see here, most majors in liberal arts are 7 to 10 courses, probably 10 courses, pretty typical. I know Nuria has a different situation with her music major, and there are some majors that require more, but mostly 10 courses. And so that means that really your major is really only about a quarter of the courses that you're taking while you're in college. If you think about it, you have 120 hours mostly in college, and 10 courses be about 30 hours. So yeah, that's about a quarter of your time. So that gives you a lot of chance to explore double majors, explore minors, explore. That said, yeah, your major is going to be a part of your experience, and part of what you're going to be doing in your first 2 years at UNC is, yeah, figuring out what majors are interesting to you. We have our 2 OLs this time are sophomores, so they haven't had quite as much chance to pull a 180 as upper class students often have. But when I've worked with seniors as OLs, many of them have changed majors 2, 3. Last year, we even had somebody who changed majors 4 times. It is not a badge of shame. It is quite the opposite to change majors. It shows that you're exploring, you're figuring out what works for you, and that's part of what advising can help you with as well, to change your experience, change your path. And I know, let's see, Nuria and DeAndre, you both are early in your careers, but did either of you want to say anything about kind of your own path to your major and how you found it? Maybe DeAndre, we haven't gotten to hear from you yet.
Yeah, sure. So I came into UNC undecided. I knew beforehand that people always change their majors, and I knew it was kind of okay to not know exactly what I wanted to do yet. So
yes, it is very okay.
Yeah. So undecided, that's how I came in. I wanted to explore because I knew I had to get the gen eds out. So I knew I'd be exposed to a lot of different classes, from the sciences to the humanities to, like you said, things I didn't know existed. I had a class on food, so I enjoyed that. I also had many different goals coming in, different interests. So I really wanted to make sure that whatever I put my heart towards, whatever degree I wanted to chase, I wanted it to encapsulate all my goals and make it worth it, not just to go get a job afterwards, but to add value to life going forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it takes courage to come in undecided. I think there's a lot of pressure when you get here. You may be feeling it right now, the people who are listening to this video, to pretend like you know exactly what you're going to do and you have it all figured out. And I have to say, it just breaks my heart when I see people kind of toughen it out for 2 years pretending that that's the case, because nobody has it figured out, nor should you. And often kind of pushing your way through pretending that that's the case can make it so that you're less able to discover the pathways that are going to ultimately be the ones that you want to take. So I would just encourage you to follow DeAndre's lead, and if you're not sure, to explore that, be okay with that, own it, and see where it takes you, because everybody else is going to realize they're undecided midway through their sophomore year. And so if you realize it earlier, you're just ahead of the game. That's my take on it anyway. And the last thing here before we move on to the next slide is just this last bullet point, really, really important. A major is not the same as a career. A lot of times, man, I'll have students come in first year and they're like, well, I want to do this, so I know that I must major in this. And I cannot emphasize enough how rarely that is the case. You want to go to law school, you could be a poli-sci major, you could be a chem major. You want to go to med school, the #1 major for med school applicants at UNC. I love to do this live because people love to guess. They think, oh, well, it must be biology, must be chemistry. Nope, it's English. Yeah, it's because just like Dan was saying at the beginning, most people who are hiring in the real world understand they want people with a broad skill set. So yeah, you want to go to med school, you do pre-med courses, but you probably major in something beyond that. And so yeah, just figuring out what courses are going to unlock your potential, help you be the most successful, the most engaged, the most passionate, the most effective student you can be. That is often a better path than forcing yourself, slogging through a major that you're not loving or maybe not feeling called by, and because you think it's what you have to do to get somewhere else. Or get to the career that you want to get to. And that goes back to advising. Come talk with us, go to career services and see, see what, if your ideas about what courses you need to take to get to where you go or where you want to go, if those are the right ideas, or maybe there's other pathways. Dan, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to add, I mean, don't feel also that you have to double major in something.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. If you have this one major interest and you want to explore those courses, and then you want to use the rest of your undergraduate experience just taking a broad base of courses, that's an excellent way to go about it. But just a quick note that there are major and minor combinations that you can have. So you can have two majors. You can have two majors and a minor. You can have a major and two minors. But you can't have four majors, right? So the most that you can do is three of anything between the major and minor combinations. But I would say just follow your interests, start there, talk to people, get information, and don't feel like you have to have it figured out when you come through the door.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. And I know, Nuria, you had, I feel like you were sort of feeling some of this pressure that we're talking about here to have, to be on a certain pace when you first got here. So I'm going to turn to you in just a second to just talk about the pressure you felt in your first year here to get through those gen eds. But yeah, before I do, I'll say there's a whole meme on the tyranny of the double major. You come to UNC and it's like, you have to have 2 majors and 6 concentrations and a specialization. I would encourage you just to like make some of those up to share if you ever are in that high pressure situation. And then meanwhile, just put yourself in as many different classrooms as you can so that you can discover, where you really need to be. Yeah, Nuria, you want to talk to us a little bit about how you felt in your first year in terms of, did you feel a pressure to double major and have a minor and those kind of things?
Definitely. So I decided that I wanted to double major mostly because I knew how easy it would be at UNC. Not easy, but just how it can be done and how supportive your teachers and your advisors can be. So I really wanted to take advantage of that. I didn't know that I would double major, but mostly because I didn't think it was possible. So for like my music major, it's a lot of hours, a lot of requirements that I have to get through, and I was definitely a little intimidated by that because going into college, I was thinking, oh, I have to get all these prereqs in, I have to get my gen eds in, I have to like be on track for my music, but that's not at all the case. It's really just like about a balance. It's about what you want to do and what you like, you know, that you have to do at a certain time, at a certain point in your career. And so I just wanted to get all of that out in my first year. And I don't know why I thought that, because I can't get all of that out in my first year. So,
well, and it kind of fits with our next slide, actually. Dan, if you want to turn to the next slide, and I'll hand it back to you, Nuria. But I know you had mentioned one of the things we're going to talk about here are first year seminars. And when we were talking before, you were mentioning about sort of your own experience with first year seminars. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I didn't take any first year seminars, and as I was telling the group yesterday, that I highly regret it. I think that now that I don't have the option to take a first year seminar, I am feeling so regretful, and I wish I could have taken at least one course out of my schedule to just explore a different path, a different area or something like that, just to get the experience to meet different students of different majors and to sort of challenge myself in a different aspect that I wasn't really anticipating when I came to college. So
Yeah,
I was, I was really focused on getting my major requirements out of the way. And so that came at a cost of me being a little regretful.
oh, well, life is long. You're young. You're young still. You can explore sophomore year. Those first year seminars are, yeah, they're a special opportunity. And so, yeah, we just encourage you to hear what Nuria just said and don't deny yourself the opportunity to explore those. Some people use first year seminars. You know, they're small courses, so they're a chance to get to know a professor and get to know your fellow students, which is always a great thing to be able to do. And people use them in different ways. Sometimes they use them as a way to get a kind of preview of what more advanced work in a particular major might look like. So that instead of taking a bunch of intro level courses and working your way up, you get a kind of a fast forward or a preview of a different discipline or a different field. That can be a great way to explore majors that you have no idea about or are, you know, just mildly curious about, and topics that you're interested in exploring. Other people use them as a chance to get a fast forward in a major that they know they're interested in. Like, oh, let's see what it's going to look like 4 years from now when I'm a senior working in an upper level in a seminar course. So you can use them in different ways, but please, yes, follow Nuria's lead or make the best of her regret and yeah, don't deny yourself that opportunity. It's not that you are dallying on the way to where you're supposed to get if you take a first year seminar. Where you're supposed to get in your first year is as many places as possible so that you are exploring and putting yourself in a situation to be exposed to as many things as possible. And those gen eds, it looks like there's a lot of them, but you can take care of them way more quickly than you think, and you certainly do not need to or want to try to take them all in your first year, even though, like Nuria, and I'm sure DeAndre as well, for some reason, people feel so much pressure to try to get them all done immediately.
Yeah, and gen eds can overlap with major, you know, with major requirements. So there's a lot of ability to, you might take a gen ed and it can count in like 3 or 4 different areas. So I'll often be talking to students and they'll feel like they're wasting their time or they're falling behind because they're taking a certain course. And really every course that you take is going to advance your experience and advance your degree. So there's really no wasted opportunity.
No, exactly. And yeah, those electives, those first year seminars, they're not obstacles to getting where you want to go. They're part of where you want to get to. Mm-hmm. Just one more quick point about this slide, and then we can move on to the next one. Yeah, those prerequisites, that's part of what Nuria was talking about. Some majors do have prerequisite courses. You can see that in the course descriptions in the catalog and the major descriptions in the catalog. So it's worth knowing about. These exploration courses is what we've been talking about. Pretty much anything you weren't 100% set on when you got here, and general education. Transition courses, you'll see there's some of those. A lot of them have an EDUC prefix, a chance to learn about what research looks like within the university, or what research looks like in the public sphere beyond the university, public and private sphere, or transitioning to college and learning to get the most out of a research university. So keep an eye out for those transition courses. And then these III, Ideas, Information, and Inquiry courses. Those are also a new initiative in the university to keep an eye out for. They've got 3 faculty members from 3 different disciplines. So the idea is, let's look at a topic through the lenses of different disciplines. I team taught in one on the cheery topic of death and dying last year, and which was great. It was team taught by a neuroscientist, an anthropologist, and a literature professor. And so you're getting kind of a sense of the way that different disciplines construct their topic and the way the same topic can look really different through those different lenses. So the topics for this year are fake news and real science, and food, going back to DeAndre's course. So keep an eye out for those. Can we go to the next slide, Dan? I want to stop blabbing at you and let the orientation leaders, who are the best part of this presentation, talk a little bit about their own exploration beyond the classroom through student organizations and clubs that they've been a part of. And DeAndre, I wonder if you could take the lead on this, talking about your experience with the Student Rams Club.
Sure. For any students that haven't heard of the Rams Club before, it's kind of they provide the scholarship and the funding for a lot of the athletics at our school. And it's really geared towards alumni and stuff like that. But we have a student Rams Club that's kind of the liaison between students and our student athletes. So this year they started an advisory board. So I decided, well, even though I haven't really been introduced to my major yet, I wanted to take the opportunity to do something that would really involve me in what I'm interested in. So I applied and I got in, and I am now the multimedia chair. So thank you. I'm now the multimedia chair. So I lead a lot of the photography, events and stuff like that. The videos, I help a lot on the social media side, providing the content there. And I am provided a lot of opportunities that I didn't really think I would get through something like that. So we have a magazine called Born and Bred that covers a lot of our athletics. And sooner or later, I'll be able to publish an article in that magazine. And I was also given the opportunity to make a commercial for the Rams Club, kind of advertising the cost, because most people think it costs more than it actually does. But it's a lot of opportunity to get out in the media side and the writing side of what I want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
Thanks for
great.
sharing that. And Nuria, I know you talked a little bit about your experience at the Model UN, and it's how that, even though this seems like a strange 180 that I'm taking us to student organizations on a slide about engaging with faculty, that you ended up learning stuff about, other courses you might be able to take weirdly through your extracurricular. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sorry. So I am involved in our Model UN here. It's called CIRA, Carolina International Relations Association. And I wasn't planning on being a part of Model UN. I just sort of did it in high school to get a resume checklist out of the way. But it's actually really fun. I really enjoy it, mostly because of the students I've met through this organization, especially because I'm not a poli-sci major, a PWAD major. It's really allowed me to interact with these students, to hear about different courses that are in those fields of majors, and I get to listen about really cool courses. Some of the students there are TAs for some professors, and they advertise their classes every once in a while, and yeah, it's been a really great experience in that aspect.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, one of the best things and the worst things about UNC, and I think you guys will probably agree with me on this, is that there are just so many things you could do, so many opportunities that it can be overwhelming just trying to navigate a path or even try to figure out what the opportunities are. So even though it could feel a little bit indulgent to do what Nuria just said, you said it was actually really fun. Having fun and connecting with people is both important for you as a human being, but also an incredibly functional thing to do, because in the course of that fun, you're meeting new people and discovering new pathways to the opportunities within the university that you would never discover if you just went to the library and only did your work for your major. So don't deny yourself the chance to explore through clubs, through social opportunities, to connect with people who are different from you, so that you learn about these opportunities that otherwise you'd never even find out about, and courses. So yeah, the top of this slide is about the more obvious stuff that you can engage with faculty and with your department and learn more about your major and major specific opportunities, and more about opportunities within the university through faculty, certainly through office hours, through clubs in your department. Those are kind of straightforward pathways. But DeAndre, I know you had a kind of a special experience at your Admitted Students Day last year, connecting with your department. And it doesn't sound like it was a typical experience. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went down?
Sure. So it happened on Admitted Students Day and a little bit on Family Weekend too, so later in the year also. So they had an event in the middle of the day where you could go talk to the departments of the major you're interested in. So I went, and I went to communications. And it was kind of weird because I was one of the only students, that, like incoming students and newer students that went in. Most of the other students had already been taking classes or introduced to the department. And I came in, and it was kind of funny because I got to meet a lot of the professors. I talked to the head of the department. They started asking me, why are you interested in this? What do you want to do? And I was like, this is my first day. I haven't met any of you before. And towards the end, after they relayed all the information to me, they kind of started, this kind of felt like they adopted me because they started talking to my parents. And one of the professors was talking to my mom, and I could hear her going, oh, he'd be great for that. And started talking about internships for like Go Heels and future internships with the department. And then the professor that heads the screenwriting, this is funny, I apologize. He dragged me over after talking to my dad and hooking my dad. So he got me and started asking me, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Keep in mind, I don't know these people. I started telling him, and he was like, I like that. You look like me when I was younger. And it kind of hit me. And they started giving me papers, a lot of opportunities and stuff that I didn't know about, inviting me to take their classes, even though, again, I hadn't declared the major yet. And it really just felt like they were taking me in because they saw potential in me. And I hadn't even met them before. So it really hit me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And I know in terms of connecting with the department, this kind of circles back to an earlier topic that I accidentally skipped us over. So when you're connecting with faculty and with your department, obviously one of the ways to do that is through classes. And there's just a range of different class formats, big and little, that you're going to encounter here at UNC. And Nuria, I know you had talked a little bit about your experience with a range of different class sizes and how you made connections through them. Can you just talk about kind of the goods and the bads of small classes and big classes?
Yeah, definitely. So I had a mix of large lecture classes and small discussion-based classes, and they ranged a lot in different ways. How they were conducted and how they were graded, but I found that while I prefer learning in a discussion-based class, I gained a lot of different skills from the lecture classes. So, for example, the lecture classes gave a bit more responsibility on my end. So I had to learn how to take notes really quickly, how to just learn how to interact with other students so that we could form different study groups, because having that sort of small community in a really big lecture environment is really helpful. And I highly recommend getting sort of a mix of the two classes during your first year so that you know what sort of style you prefer, sort of how to study to your fullest potential. And yeah, there are some difficulties definitely, but in the end, you will be successful.
Yeah, that range is inevitable. Your 105 class, English 105 is going to be 19 students. You'll probably have a big lecture class. And so I just love and Maria's point about the different benefits of the different sizes, of course. You're getting different skills. So from putting yourself in those different circumstances. And then I know, DeAndre, you had an experience with what's called a flipped classroom. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So coming in, I didn't know what a flipped classroom was, and I had never heard of it before. But my pre-calc class was a flipped classroom. So you basically learn the content on your own time. So at the beginning of the week, we would have videos on the topic uploaded, and we'd have to watch those, take notes on our own if we want to. And then we had assigned work throughout the week. But on the classroom side, we would go in, maybe do 5 or 6 questions that counted towards our attendance and also served as like a benchmark to see if we needed help. And the instructor would walk around, ask if we need help, explain things, maybe introduce 5 or 10 minutes of a topic, and then that would be it. So you do a lot of the learning on your own, and it's kind of like Maria mentioned, it's a different approach, and you learn a lot about your learning style, and it's really different.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, UNC, as some of you listening to this video may know, we're sort of on the cutting edge of pedagogical innovation, basically figuring out how to teach better. We did some research a couple years back and discovered that those big lecture courses, they weren't helping as many students be successful as we wanted. And so they put a bunch of faculty and administrators on the task of looking at best practices around the world to increase outcomes. And they discovered, hey, you know, if we have people cover the content outside of class and then actually come to class and put the skills and the information that they've learned into action through doing hands-on work with the professor in the room, helping and facilitating that, it enhances people's learning and they do better and they get the material more fully. So keep an eye out for those flipped classrooms. A lot of times it'll say that in the course description. And yeah, hopefully that will enhance your experience of some of those big classes. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, DeAndre. And then a couple other points in this slide, we'll move on to the next one. We started with student organizations. You can look at that Heal Life link there on this slide. It's a clearinghouse of more student organizations than you can shake a stick at. You name it, they have it, and if they don't, you can make it. So definitely check those out. Another great chance, like we started out talking about with this slide, to meet people and make connections. And then last but not least, University Career Services. You know, they're going to help with thinking ahead and thinking about next steps, advising partners with them, so we can be a kind of double threat, helping you think about post-college plans and opportunities. I would just encourage you to not be put off by this strange bullet points under career services. This focus 2 self-assessment thing sounds kind of scary, but grown-ups listening to this video will remember similar kinds of tests that they took. This sort of aptitude, weird multiple choice kind of surveys designed to help you figure out careers and post-college opportunities that might be a good fit for you. For some reason, whenever I take this, it always tells me I'm supposed to be a forest ranger. Go figure, but you know, it's still fun to take them, and sometimes they help you understand, you know, possible post-college paths that you didn't know about. So definitely check out career services. Okay, we can get off this slide finally. Most important part of this whole session, we're going to hear from our orientation leaders just about some things that they wish they'd known when they were still in your shoes this time last year, coming to college. I don't know, whichever of you wants to take the lead on this one.
So I can go first. So before coming to Carolina, I felt this really big pressure for myself to do well in college because of a lot of different factors. One, I wasn't necessarily very proud of my work ethic from high school. I took a lot of shortcuts, and I didn't want that to be carried through to college because I didn't want to fall behind. And especially now that I have to pay for my education, there's also that factor that I didn't want anything to go to waste, and I really wanted to take advantage of everything. And so I sat down and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do really well in college. Like, I'm going to thrive in all of my classes. I'm going to study all the time. And I definitely did a lot better than I was expecting. So the end result, I was happy with my grades, but something that I wasn't really accounting for was how much pressure that would be at times, and how sometimes you just have to take a break, not drop everything and just do whatever you want sort of break, but to give yourself some time, treat yourself to a good Alpine bagel, go to the quad with your friends and relax, and just have a movie night sometimes. Those sorts of things will help you just get motivated again to do well and to be happy while you're doing everything. So just breathe. That would be my advice.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. Please listen to us, students. Eat, sleep, take care of yourselves. Do not just treat yourself like a brain in a jar, because you're more than that, and you need to take care of all parts of yourself in order to be successful and happy. And like we were saying earlier, being happy could also be practical, you know, having fun. You might learn things about what you love and what you're good at that you'll never discover just by yourself in your room. DeAndre, you want to talk a little bit about your lessons learned, things you wish you'd known?
Yes, I can segue perfectly from Naria because I had a different approach to basically the same thing. For those of you that are more hesitant in your capabilities, you think you won't do as well. I had that mindset coming in. Do not worry about that. So coming in, I didn't expect to be the high achiever that I was in high school because I knew I was going to a school with other high achievers. So I was thinking I can get by, just make sure I keep studying, keep doing what I need to. And I just want to tell you that I wish that I knew just doing what you're supposed to, getting your work done, focusing when you need to, it'll take you a long way. You don't think it will at first, but it definitely shows. And then just like Naria said, if you do what you're supposed to, you have plenty of time to do other things. I wasn't even going to be an orientation leader because I was concerned about time and my focus on just academics. But I took that chance because I took that balance, and then I met people just like Naria. And it's a great opportunity, and you just need to balance your life.
All right, balance, be kind to yourselves, eat, sleep, and don't feel like you have to do everything the first day. We can't wait for you to get here. I think that's all we have to say to you guys today. So I think I can say, looking forward to seeing you in the fall, and maybe we can all sign off.
Yeah. Thank you so much for attending this, and it's been great listening and talking with everyone this morning, and we'll see you when you get here.